A very good evening to our viewers. Welcome to ELITETV and you're watching Open Debate in English. And today I bring you the topic, the CM's mysterious Guwahati visit. Ever since the declaration of the Lok Sabha election results, the Chief Minister of Manipur, Sri N. Singh, seems to be behaving in an edgy manner. We are going to recall some of his visits and movements since the start of June. On the 3rd of June, he leaves Manipur. This is the 3rd of June is one day before the election result was out, and he leaves Manipur for some undisclosed destination. Some say that he went to Delhi, others say he went to Lucknow, but it wasn't sure. And he returns immediately and he leaves for Delhi with Sharda Devi and others to attend the swearing-in ceremony of the new government on 9th of June. Around this time, violence erupted in Jirebam, and the violence brewed up after one Meitei was found murdered, allegedly by Kuki militants. The Chief Minister assures the people of Jirebam from Delhi that he would visit Jirebam upon arrival to Imphal. The next day, on the 10th of June, in the early mornings at around 10:30 a.m., the Chief Minister's advanced convoy security team was ambushed near Kotlan, and 2 of them sustained injuries. The Chief Minister arrives later that day and he announced that the attack on his security convoy is the same as an attack on himself and that stern action would be taken. On 15th of June, Chief Minister's security team that had gone to Jirebam returns back, and that there was an unofficial announcement that the Jirebam visit of the Chief Minister was cancelled. Then the Chief Minister announces action against the security advisor and the DGP if they had neglected their responsibilities regarding the Jirebam violence. 16th of June, the central government sends additional 50 companies of central forces to Manipur. The 17th of June, we hear that the Union Home Minister chairs a very high-level security meet in New Delhi, where the security advisor, the Chief Secretary and the DGP was invited, but against all conventions, the Chief Minister of Manipur was not. This had generated much speculation in Manipur, and there was even rumors of possible removal of the Chief Minister or imposition of PR in the state. On 19th of June, a team of BJP Manipur Pradesh, led by Minister Sri Govindas Konthaujam, came out in a press conference to defend the Chief Minister's position, saying that the meeting that was held on 17th of June was only meant for executives and not for politicians. Therefore, Chief Minister was not invited for that reason. He continued to say that the Home Minister would certainly invite Chief Minister N. Singh for an exclusive meeting later. On the backdrop of all of this sequence of events, the Chief Minister again flies off to the airport on the evening of 22 of June, and it was reported that his destination was New Delhi with a stopover at Guwahati. He did land at Guwahati to discuss the Jirebam issue with the Assam Chief Minister. A broadcast by Northeast Live, it reported that probably Sri N. Singh did not have a chance to meet the Assam Chief Minister because the very same day, Chief Minister of Assam had left Guwahati for New Delhi by 8:30 that evening. There is a lot to take in, and we are going to be debating and discussing on this matter with our panelists. Let's take a moment to welcome and introduce our panelists who are present here in our ELITETV studio. Our first panelist for tonight is Oja Pradip Phanjoubam, editor for Imphal Review for Art and Politics. Oja, welcome to Open Debate. Our second panelist for tonight is Oja Victor Chongtham, advocate. Welcome to Open Debate, Oja.
Thank you for having me.
And our third panelist for tonight is Oja Paojel Chaoba, executive editor, The Frontier Manipur. Oja, welcome to Open Debate. Now, first move on to Oja Pradip. My first question from you that I want to know from you is that there are reports in the media today in the newspaper itself. The Sana Leibak reported that the Chief Minister of Manipur did not have a chance to meet Assam Chief Minister. But there are also other reports, conflicting reports that say that there have been a meeting and they have discussed regarding the Jirebam issue in Guwahati, and that the Chief Minister of Manipur also returned back after cancelling his visit to Delhi and came back to Imphal yesterday. So my first question is, I want to know, why is there no transparency regarding his movements and regarding his itinerary of his visits? What are your thoughts?
Well, as far as transparency is concerned, it doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be known in the government. For instance, we have had so many lessons in the past. In 2010, there was this Kashmir interlocutor, three people interlocutor initiative, where Radha Kumar, one academician, and then Dilip Phanjoubam, who was the editor of the Times of India, and M.M. Ansari, who was the director of the Information Service. They were actually made the interlocutors, and they were trying to negotiate with the Kashmir militants at the time, and also trying to find out what the actual problems were. And then there was this issue, they probably took it the other way. So every time they went there, they had a press conference, they kept announcing everything that they did, who agreed, who did, disagreed and all that. And there was so much of noise in the media, and that was actually becoming a hindrance. So what I'm saying is that sometimes it is good to be discreet when you do something, not hiding it altogether, but then you don't have to be announcing everything that you do. So I'm saying that we should be a little more lenient in this sense, at least, that when the government or any agency is doing something, we don't have to know it. I mean, when you do it, for instance, the discussion that's happening now, as well as the sketch that you've given, some people saying one thing, other people saying something else, those kinds of things can actually hinder, if there is a progressive initiative, even that initiative can create hurdles for itself. So I don't think we should be criticizing everything discreet. If they are hiding something which is very heinous and all that, then that has to be dug out. But when they go and meet somebody, or when they are doing a plan, before that plan is over, it's not necessary for them to actually announce it, because that can become a problem for themselves as well. So I think that much of allowance we should give. Other than that, no, if you want to report it, it should not be just on hearsay, as is happening now. He went there to do something, and then somebody else says something else, and he went there. Apparently, I've also been following this, and apparently he wanted to meet this Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Chief Minister of Assam, and through him get an appointment with the Amit Shah, Home Minister, but that didn't happen. And somebody else says something else, that they went there to discuss this Jiripam thing and all that. So I think we should be very careful about this, because I'm not trying to defend anybody, defend the Chief Minister or anybody, but I think we should not actually make a serious issue trivial by just blowing it up on the internet, and then making it a town square kind of a discussion. And in our own lingo, it's called Lipung Phamba, that we just sit and chat without actually knowing what actually happened. We just keep speculating, and then those speculations become acquire some kind of the truth value, and then everything gets blown up, and people start blowing up different things, and then in the end, it's total confusion. So I think we should avoid that. But why he went there, probably we should ask him to give a press conference and then clarify it, that kind of thing. But I think too much of speculation, too much of writing on hearsay is here we're noticing it. But as I gave the example of that 2010 episode where these three people made the interlocutor for Kashmir, and they took the opposite route. They said we are very transparent, and they started speaking about everything, and then criticism began happening, all kinds of criticism, and those became a big hurdle. So I think some bit of allowance is necessary, and if you have to really, if you really feel that this is something public should know, then we should insist on those people to actually give a press conference. This time he's the Chief Minister, so we should ask him to give a press conference, or else we should interview him directly and then ask him to clarify it. Otherwise, I think it's not very healthy for everybody to just speculate and build up an issue out of nothing, because that can actually hinder the progress of any kind of initiative, any kind of, even if it's a goodwill mission, that can be jeopardized on the way. So I think we should be careful. But on the whole, since this is something, these are very uncertain times and people want to know everything that's happening, there should be more communication from the government. That is quite certain. That the Chief Minister, since he's involved this time, he should give a press conference and clarify why he went there. And if he doesn't give a press conference, if he refuses to do that, then probably he's trying to hide something. Then we can start hammering him. But before that, just noticing some rumor on the internet, or some TV channel or the other saying something, as it happened in this case, I think Any Now or one of those channels gave that supposedly breaking news kind of news, which actually fueled that speculation. So I think sometimes we have to be a little more careful. Sometimes we have to be a little more introspect about what we do in the interest of the larger public interest, and that is what should decide what is the public interest. Is it good to just promote rumor or talk of hearsay as truth? And I totally disagree with this. And so many examples have been there, as I said just now. So we should be careful about this. But if we want information, then we should go to the source and insist that he gives a press conference, or we go and interview him, and then they'll ask him very difficult or challenging questions that he must clarify on these issues, and not just go there and just be happy to be in the company of power and then come back smiling and all that. But nothing of that sort. You go there and then you interview. You interrogate. I wouldn't even call it an interview. You have to interrogate. I mean, as if you want to find out something from that person, and you actually pose yourself as the opponent. You don't become. You have a handshake and then bonhomie, slap each other on the back and then come back. Not that kind of thing. If you have to find out something, you find out. If there is nothing to be reported, don't report. That kind of thing. I think that kind of approach should come about.
Very, very beautiful point and interesting point, intriguing indeed. Thank you for your points, and I'll come back to you again in the next round, Pradip. Now moving on forward with our debate, Oja Victor, I'll come back to you. I'll come to you now that you can supplement to what Oja Pradip has just said regarding that, and also I would like to know from you is that Chief Minister has decided to meet the Assam Chief Minister regarding the Juribag violence, regarding the spillover of all that fact. But also my question is that ever since last year, this violence in Manipur, there has been a lot of hand that we have heard. There is fact and evidence that Mizoram has a very much vested interest in this issue. So why not the Chief Minister also meet with the Mizoram Chief Minister, have a sit down and have a talk regarding this issue also? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is very necessary. That he should be actually breaking ground. So you have, or as they say, break ice. That if something is frozen, you can't get a headway. You have to break the ice and then start the conversation. In any kind of conflict situation, in any kind of tussle of ideologies, this breaking of the ice is very necessary. So the Chief Minister should be also taking those kind of initiatives. That he should go and talk not just to those people in Delhi in a subservient way, but you also have to talk with your colleagues, you have to with your companion, with your adversaries. And if that talking with the adversaries is not immediately possible, then you have to actually look for ways to do it. Which is why even not just at that level, but even the common people. How do you break ice with people you think are your opponent? The cookies and the midges, for instance. How do you break ice so that you can actually start clarifying your points, each other's points, so that there is a meeting ground? Otherwise, if this meeting ground is not there, this tension is going to continue forever, and it's not going to be in anybody's good, or nobody's going to be the winner in having this tension to continue, because we are in a race which we are not alone. Manipur is stagnated. Manipur is frozen in some kind of time warp. Nobody else is going to wait for us. The other states are just going to go ahead. Other people are just going to go ahead. So when we come out of this time warp, we're going to find ourselves right behind everybody else. So we have to also realize that we have to end this conflict in an amicable way, and for that, I think that breaking the ice is very necessary. As you suggested, at the Chief Minister's level, he should be speaking to everybody. He should go and speak to the Mizoram Chief Minister. That's very true. Assam Chief Minister and Nagaland Chief Minister, because Nagaland may be a third party, uninvolved, but they can also be a broker. The idea of the interlocutor is basically that, and you have somebody who's interested in that issue, but who doesn't have a stake in there, a personal stake. They are best suited for interlocutor position, because they will not be influenced by emotions. They will be able to judge and also suggest to all the parties what can be done, and that is actually what is necessary. And the Chief Minister of Manipur also think on those terms, not just in terms of who is a friend and who is an adversary and all that. Friend or adversary, you should be equally open to talk, because there's no harm in talks. You can have a talk, and then if it doesn't succeed, it doesn't succeed. It doesn't destroy anybody. But we cannot stop this whole idea of talking. And this is also what basically democracy is about. They keep saying that democracy is ruled by debate, that you are at every level. You are actually at this debating level. You go to, say, in the particular case you have just cited, the Chief Minister of Mizoram and Chief Minister of Manipur talking it out to each other and then debating on points. And when you have this in the Marxian terminology, and you have the theses and the antitheses clashing, you will have a synthesis in the end. That you know, both sides will know where they have gone wrong. Both sides will know where their strong points are, and if they find a meeting point, then that's the synthesis. And that synthesis is what this progressive march is about. You can't just take one side only. You have to take both sides. But you can't take both. When you take both sides, you have the dark sides of both sides. You have to eliminate those dark sides and take only the good sides and make them meet. And from that, you have that synthesis, which is the emerging kind of reality which both can accept.
Very good point. Now coming to Oja Victor, do you agree with what Oja Pradip has said regarding that transparency sometimes it sometimes causes problems if there is any kind of progressive talks or any kind of process that is within the government to come to any kind of a solution? So because I would like to bring up another visit or another movement of the Chief Minister. This happened on 3rd of June. He left Manipur on the eve of election results, and the next day we all know how the election results have although even given the mandate against the current regime, and he left on a very hush-hush kind of a visit away from Imphal on the 3rd of June. The election results was out on the 4th of June, and then he just came back again immediately the very next day, and then again he immediately left from there to Delhi with the party, with some of his party members to participate in the swearing-in ceremony. So do you think that even though our first panelist has mentioned sometimes transparency, it really bruises some of the process, if there is any, do you think that in the current situation that Manipur is in, that the people ought to know, they ought to know about these current movements of the Chief Minister? What do you think?
Well, I'm very much to the tune of what Brother Pradip has opined, and I just concur my opinion as well.
Yes.
And as far as we are talking about the peace, whatever the questions you put and pose up, there's how to restore peace. There is the manifested ideas, everyone knows. But despite the struggles made from the public to restore the peace, and there are certain elements which back up and which further escalates the issues and which has even touched to other communities. That's the very area which makes us very desperate. And in terms of how the coexistence and the communal disharmony shall be eliminated in a very expeditious manner, everyone knows, yet we can't come to the conclusion till that. So we need dialogue, and every war, every misunderstandings are subject to certain agreement and treaty, thereby we can just settle the issue. But in the present scenario, I don't see, because in as much as there are certain political vendetta based issues keep on, and thereby like public are subjected to certain things where their basic rights and even to the extent of livelihood are being deprived. So this is the very pathetic situation. So how far it has to be continued, and such kind of perpetrations, unlike it never occurred anywhere else. And moreover, despite we have been just struggle to settle the issues from our personal ends as well as through other CSOs, why it has been just unfolded to every areas, including Jiribams, and very recently taken place somewhere at Senapati site by abusing and just throwing unnecessary remarks against each other. So which rather shape a very bad antecedent in the future amongst all the communities. I would like to suggest, as brother has opined, that unless we know the particular incidents and what is the source of those incidents, we should not just come and we should not spread such kind of things. Rather, it makes more severe issues amongst all the coexistence and the harmonious existence of all the communities. So it is at the very birth, anything can be happen in the future. So we need to resolve, we need to communicate. Unless there is a good communication, there shall not be any situations where we can say that the situation is likely to be restored. So we, the public in a democratic country, has a good and enormous role wherein like we have to communicate. So it should have been done from the day one. Unless there is a good communication, that's why I approach Supreme Court. If internet is shut down, then there will be havoc, there will be misunderstanding, thereby it will linger on, and in the same way we are facing that kinds of problem. So basically, for restorations of peace, we need communication. There should not be any ground for, ego class and all those things. To my knowledge, ego is to the highest echelons and highest level, so by which we are being treated as a voters and not as a citizens any longer, which we should shun, and otherwise there is no any hope. It deeply affects to the root core of humanities, and it affects to the economy, it affects to all sectors, including educations of all those persons, not only the displaced.
Thank you for your point. You mentioned a very good point regarding that there need to be communication, although this is what all the stakeholders and the civil societies in Manipur have been trying to have a dialogue, to have the communication, and also asking for the leaders, both in the state and the central leadership, to give a space for dialogue and to bring about some change and respite to the state. Now, moving on to Paojel Chaoba, I would like to ask you, know from you, you can supplement to our previous two panelists as well, and also I would like to bring up one incident. On the 9th of June, the Chief Minister, he said he takes full responsibility of the defeat in the Lok Sabha elections in Manipur regarding both the states being completely have been won over by the Congress party. And he said he takes full responsibility, but he said he will not resign. He said that if he resigns, the drug mafia and the illegal infiltrators will swarm over in Manipur. So in that statement suggests that he is not willing to resign. He says that he is still there to save Manipur. That is what he tried to imply. Do you agree with his statement, or do you think there needs to be a change of leadership?
What the government right now seems to be more focused on is just propaganda. Of course, government must have propaganda. They must say that we are doing a good job. They are saying that it is a double engine government, and you can see in all the papers that they have, of all the good jobs that they have done for the public. But let us take, for instance, some issues like the recent floods. Before that, the hailstorms came. Now there's so much hue and cry from the public saying that those who are rightfully, like, they have suffered both this very adverse climatic conditions and the help which has been duly promised to them are not given. And I must say, at the end, it is the citizens, it is the farmers, it is the plebeian, the public, who suffers most. But whatever sort of propaganda material that the government is dishing out, I believe that the people are no longer eating it up. Before, we can say, like, in the progress of this BJP-led government, of course, there's like, you go to the hills program, you go to the, what do you say, villages program. There are so many things like There's you go to the chief minister and tell him what you need, like a more federal type of governance. And you can actually meet the chief minister. Now let's just see what's happening now. Everything has gone to the docks, and go to the hills program seems to be for the other communities, for the other community to go to the hills. Right now there's a separation along those lines.
Right.
There's no public order. The life and the infrastructure of the public cannot be safeguarded by the government, by the chief minister, with all his powers. He has the police force, he has all the executives, he's in touch with all other top brass in the center. But as you had mentioned before, when one day prior to the elections being announced, the chief minister went to Delhi, and after the results were announced, he congratulated the prime minister with a bouquet of flowers. So I was wondering if he should not say a couple of sentences to the prime minister, saying that, why didn't you come to Manipur? At least even once. Are you going to come?
Right.
So there are some things that he could have taken up, which we, the public, feel that he could have done a lot. But instead, it seems that the state is going deeper and deeper, sinking deeper and deeper into the mire, into the quicksand.
Right.
So in such a situation that only now we are up to our necks, the public of both communities and all concerned, that we are up to our necks in so many problems that is affecting Manipur presently.
Right.
So the propaganda material that seems to be dishing out, people think that there's a lot of BS now. People do not want it, be purple. Anyway, but what we are trying to say is that the recent mandate given by the public of a landslide victory, which we have never seen before in the MP elections, Lok Sabha, and a very magnificent win by the Congress, seems to speak out loudly that yes, we have had enough of your government, we have had enough of your maladministration, we have had enough of your propaganda. But it's just mere lip service and nothing concrete has been done up to date. As you can see also, like all the people who are there in the relief camps, they are running helter-skelter on the roads, trying to sell detergent and candles.
Right.
And that is a very sad sight to see, especially because your heart goes out to them. When I go back from here, like I have a home, I have something, a bed to sleep in, I have some privacy. But if you see the displaced people, there is no proper infrastructure. All the families are like packed in one room, and what are the means of earning revenue? What can they do? And that is one thing which is like a big predicament to all the thousands of displaced people. And we want to know how long the chief minister is going to keep up with saying that he will not resign. But I feel that on moral grounds, he should have resigned a long time back and had let someone handle the problems that has been created. Otherwise, it's right now there's apathy from the center, and just after the Lok Sabha elections results being announced, they are saying that they'll solve these issues in 3 months. Come on, 1 year and 3 months has gone by.
Right.
What were they waiting for all the time if they could have done that in 3 months? What were they waiting for? So I think there's more than what meets the eye in this present scenario. It's not merely the chief minister who is, responsible in a way. It is also the prerogative of the center, because I feel like the Article 355 is being implemented in the state in a pseudo manner.
Yeah.
Because you ask the security advisor, Mr. Kuldeep Singh, he'll say that yes, I came here on the behest of the state government. And if you ask the chief minister, then he'll say that yes, I'm no longer the head of the unified command. And there's a big contradiction in both these authorities.
Right.
So what are we to believe? So I feel that the public is being taken for a big long ride. And as Tamo and my colleague have said before, that I think we are regressing. We are not going forward. We are going backwards, and for how long? That is the big question that we all have to discuss. What is the way forward? What are the new things that we have to adopt? And especially when the economy has gone for a toss, and the inflation rate has risen more than 10%, highest in the country, I believe.
Right.
So these are not very easy problems to solve, but I think that we as citizens have to at least address the problems in whatever way we can as a responsible citizen, and say that we have had enough, we want something concrete, we had enough of lip service, we want concrete results for us, ourselves, for our communities, and for our state. This is the first thing that we should do.
Very, very good points, Oja. Point noted. I'll come back to you again in the next round. Now, moving on to Oja Pradip, as Paojel Chaoba has just mentioned that these are not easy problems to just solve, and the window of solving these problems has long gone by, since now 1 year and almost so many months, 2-3 months is already gone by regarding this. So, when we are already neck deep in such a troubling situation in Manipur, there are now new developments coming up regarding this issue. On another side, we have this Jiribam burning issue with lots of people displaced. Moreover, we have already so many displaced in Imphal itself. And again, side by side with the Jiribam violence, we have noticed that the Naga also has started to be triggered by this violence, and we have seen that the Naga groups are now facing off again with the Kuki militants. We have seen that NSC and IN camps being attacked, and they retaliating against to the Kuki communities. We have seen that Rongmei Naga Council trying to ease off this blockade, and they said that there will be no longer any blockade in this national highway. And we have seen all of these Naga communities trying to almost boycott selling of goods in Senapati to the Kuki community. So these are some of the new developments that are now coming out from the Naga community. Already we have such neck-deep issues troubling the state with no solution in sight. Do you think that such developments will again make these problems bigger and bigger, and that the solution will not be very simple again? What are your thoughts regarding, or do you think that there will be another locking horns between these two Naga and Kuki communities coming up after this between the Meitei and the Kuki communities?
Yeah, actually, this is only to be expected. When you have a conflict situation unresolved for so many years, so many months, now it's over a year, it's bound to get more complicated, and that's what's happening. Because the conflict actually transforms into, it keeps transforming. It began with a little spark, and then it spread, and then it had a cause, and that cause has actually transformed. You have, and it's more like something which is actually growing. You have some victims. Those victims will be angry. Their families will be angry. They'll create more victims on the other side, and it keeps growing. And then also, since we are not living in a vacuum, both the warring communities, the others will also begin to be affected. Nagas, as you mentioned, are affected sorely by this conflict between Meiteis and the Kukis. And that's why they are also making their points known, that this is their interest must not be encroached upon. And if you don't pay attention to this, if the government does not pay attention to this, it can become very, very complicated. The conflict can widen, and then it will become much more difficult to solve. So what's happening is we have over 1 year of this violence happening, and we have so many troops here in Manipur, so many central troops as well as the state's own constabulary, the police and the MR and all that. All of them together is estimated to be about 60,000 to 70,000 pairs of boots on the ground. And with that kind of a security presence, how come this thing has not been controlled all this while is something to be asked. And also there is another thing that we keep noticing, is that the state government has been silent. It's more like president's rule happening without being declared. You have a government, president's rule can take two forms. One is you dismiss the government and then have a governor and council to rule the state for 6 months, and then after that you have another election. That is one. And the other way is to keep the government of the state in animated suspension, which means that they will not function. The governor and council will function, but they will not be, and there's no necessity for an election after the president's rule is over. The old government, which is kept in in animated suspension will be revived, and they will become a government again. So that this is a way of avoiding that election. But in the case of Manipur, in this present situation, it seems like there has been this precedence rule and the animated suspension, because I somehow feel the government is quite powerless and also clueless and also completely thrown out of being the as the leading agent in controlling the situation. You have the unified command, which the CM is no longer. Is customarily the chief minister of a place is supposed to be the head of that unified command, because he is the chief executive, and that happens in every state. But here also it was probably happening for all the while. But this time suddenly he's gone, and then he's there. If you've seen the notice, he's there in the end, in the footnote, saying that he can call a press conference, the meeting of the unified command, but it's not part of the unified. In the list of people listed in the unified command, he's no longer there. So he's no longer the executive. So these are big insults to the state, first of all. The other thing is, what is the plan of the center? That has to be asked. Why, if you're in charge, why have not you've not been able to control this violence? And the appearance seems to be that the center is just happy to control the violence and not resolve it. It just control it, build a buffer, and then make sure that the two communities don't meet, so they don't fight. But that has not been completely successful. Every now and then you have small pockets of violence. Once a little spark creates the eruption of that violence again. The latest is in Jiripam, as you also said. These kind of things, you have to, first of all, control the violence, but that is not the end of the solution. That you have to also resolve the crisis, then bring peace, normalcy. Then that will be okay. As I say, the absence of violence is not peace. Right. It doesn't necessarily have to be peace. It can be peace, but then it doesn't necessarily have to be peace. So what seems to be targeted at the moment by the center is to have that absence of violence and then claim there is peace. But that is not peace, which you're noticing now, and that you have a little spark because there's so much of tension, so much of animus against each other. So that you have a little spark, somebody gets killed, and then in the Jiripam incident, for instance, if one person was killed, Meitei or Kuki, people in the before this crisis, people would have blamed one group, that underground group, or that gang did it, that kind of thing. But now we are blaming the communities. That has come about because that tension is so high. The fuel is there, always ready to burn. So you have a little spark. Probably, as I said, in other times it would have been a more innocent kind of an explanation. That rogue, that gunda or that gang, that kind of explanation would have been given. Now it's no longer that way. You have somebody killed, you immediately suspect the other community, not just one or two person in that community, but the entire community. So the fight happens. So this thing, there seems to be another layer of interest in the central government's approach to this problem, that they want this crisis to continue, and not openly. Often you hear of the talk of the state and the deep state. The state is bound by the law, is bound by the constitution. They can't do anything beyond that, beyond what is provided by the constitution, beyond what is allowed by the law. But there are certain issues that you want to overcome, but the law and the system becomes a hurdle, and they want to use the deep state to actually tackle those kind of problems. For instance, you have this problem, some underground problem. You just can't go and kill the underground leaders openly like that. You have to do it as per law. But the deep state can do that. So what happens is, in every state, especially the aggressive states, you have Israel, you have America, you have Russia. They were all doing this. Right. The KGB was there for the Russians, the CIA was there for the Americans, and the Mossad was there for the Israelites. So what they would do is settle these problems out of the law. And that kind of thing apparently seems to be happening here. That you have this conflict carry on, then you have, because right now what's happening is, in this entire theater, you have the Nagas doing peace talks, you have the Kukis and the Sioux agreement. So it's more all on the negotiating table, except the Métis. So probably, if this deep state theory is true, then the deep state is actually at work to bring the Métis insurgents into the picture, and then corner them, either force them or compel them to actually come to a ceasefire agreement, or some kind of negotiation, so that they can claim that the problem is over. But now we're saying that this is complicating the issue much more, and maybe it's also backfiring on those people who are playing this game. 1 year later, so much of casualty, and then nothing much is happening on the front that they probably wanted to do. So these kind of things could have been happening, and if that is happening, it's very sinister. And now, of course, you can't hide it forever. Because this is not something happening in another country. Say, for instance, the deep state, Indian deep state, has been operating in Canada to eliminate those Sikh
rebels,
anti-India Sikh organizations there. There was a killing of the Nisar. Even the Prime Minister of Canada had to come out openly accusing India of doing that. And then in London also there are so many other assassination attempts at many anti-India leaders stationed there. So these kind of things are happening at the deep state level. So maybe in the case of Manipur also, the deep state is at work, and they want that objective of getting all the Métis undergrounds to surrender or to be compelled to come to peace talk, and then they can claim that peace has been brought, that this government has done so much towards actually settling the Manipur problem or the Northeast problem. Because as I said, practically every other insurgent groups, including Alpha, they signed a peace accord recently. Of course, one faction of the Alpha is still at large. Nagaland, the Nagas, the Kukis, everybody, Mizos and Khasis, Karbis, all of them have come to that agreement, and only the Métis are left. So probably that could be, this is a theory, but that could be at one level what's happening. And then again, the whole attitude of the center is, sometimes, this is a remote place, different ethnic communities, indigenous communities, tribal communities, they fight each other, you can't stop them, it's their born enemies, they'll keep fighting each other and all that. There's a very nice book on this whole issue of conflict, the violent conflict, by somebody called Jolly Demers. It's called The Theories of Violent Conflict, an introduction. And there, she was actually saying this, and I was quite struck by that in 1993, America was leading the NATO. They were about to interfere in Bosnia. Bosnia, the fights broke out between the Serbs and the Albanian Muslims. And they were killing each other. Of course, the Serbs were more powerful, they were killing more Albanians. But in 1993, they had planned to intervene to stop this fight. They had the American-led NATO. Then what happened was Bill Clinton was the president at the time. He got a gift, and that gift came in the shape of a book by this Robert Kaplan. He's a very well-read theorist and public speaker and all that. So he's written this book called Balkan Ghost, where he was talking about these fights, and he said, these people, they will keep fighting each other. There is no way we can stop. It's like cat and dog. You stop them now, they'll fight again. So it's better to leave them until they get tired of killing each other. That kind of attitude. The primordialist is a primordial kind of enemy. I think, the whole attitude of the Indian state, especially the deep state, is like that. Manipur, they'll keep fighting. You stop them now, hill, plain, they will never meet eye to eye. They will keep killing each other. So let them tire each other out, and then maybe there'll be peace. There's no active thought of intervention to stop the fight and bring about normalcy. Which is why, in spite of 70,000 troops here, they are not able to control the violence. And I've also spoken to some of the troops in the border area. Said if they give us the order, we can end this in 2 days or maximum 1 week. That's what they said. But that order is never coming. I think it has a game plan, a very sinister kind of game plan of the deep Indian state, and which is unfortunate for us, but it's happening.
Very good point. That the thing that you mentioned about the deep state, it is something that cannot be overlooked, and that since Manipur being a very strategic position of the Indian country as a border state and also bordering Myanmar, and also the hands of China being able to reach into Manipur, indeed it is a very good point. Now I'll move on to Oja Victor regarding one point that Oja Victor Pradip has mentioned regarding the imposition of PR and also suspended animation. On that note, Oja Victor, I'd like to ask from you that on the 21st of June, on the International Day of Yoga, the Chief Minister, he said that while observing this occasion, he said that there will be peace in 3 months. And as Oja Pradip has also said, that a suspended animation, it lasts about 3 months without completely dissolving the assembly, and also it is a situation where the president rules in fact. Currently also everyone is saying, we all know that there is de facto PR already in Manipur. And I'd like to know from you, will there be a change of leadership because of by taking into account of all the statements and all the developments recently that has happened before and after elections? And again, do you think one of these 3 things that I'd like to know from you, will there be a change of leadership? Will there be a suspended animation for just 3 months, and everything that that we have discussed today regarding the deep state and also the new government trying to bring peace into Manipur or not, and also a complete PR that lasts for about 6 months. So what are your thoughts on this, and do you think that all of these are a prelude, all of these things are a prelude to such an imposition in the state?
Yeah, even like to the extent of impositions of PR,
okay,
we have suffered a lot. So on the namesake PR, if the PR is imposed, the public will be affected, so and so. That is the opinion given by the ministers and other big shots. But as far as the public had been just resorting into such kind of situation, this itself indicates that we have been already under the so-called presidential rule.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be that much difficult for us to lead another life of when the PR, even to the extent of impositions of PR come into exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean to say is like it is too much, and when we have been totally vandalized to the extent of our livelihood, to the extent of every spheres and in every realms, what more we expect from this present governance? And we can't speculate in as much as like the pattern in which the public engaged and by destroying the fabrics of federal structures and all those things, and so thereby we are rather put into such a confusions. They keep giving assurance from time to time, within 2 weeks, within 3 months, within 5 months, so and so. So under what circumstances, under what premise shall we put reliance upon the present system and present regime? So if for good, at the most, if they are concerned of the public and well-being of all people, sections residing within the state of Manipur, it is now and high to have a shift and navigate in a proper manner in the interest of the public, which includes all the communities. So if they ever think, as far as central government is concerned, if they ever think that this restorations of peace should be the first priority, mm-hmm. then it should have been done away with. And now what happened, as if like burden is being shifted from another person to another, and so we are being soldiered, and ultimately it is likely to blame to the public rather, because in as much as the subject matters is of the public issue, ethnic crisis, land issues and all those things, they will unfold in the course of time. On that very pretext, we may be utilized and misused because we people are too full to understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And based on any hearsay, without having any foundations, without having any this authenticity, we just spread rumors from time to time, and rather we are just delving into the area of very uncivilized and barbaric type of situations we are heading for.
Mm-hmm.
So I could not understand what is this type of game, whether it is an ethnic or whether it is an armed rebellion, whether it should be under the purview of the so-called terrorists, or whether it is something insurgency in short. So this needs to be discussed at length with the help of all the CSOs and well-known personalities in this field. Otherwise, we are just like a shuttle. We are just like utensils which can be bought from market, and so though we are living, the value of our existence is no longer like the incident happened. And so prior to the incident, so I would like to suggest we need a good communication, that everything will be sorted out by way of having good communication. That's all. Otherwise, this will linger on. And out of which, what we get in war, there is no any prize. What will have only the casualties.
But Oja Victor, I'd like to know from you: is imposition of president's rule really bad? Is there any pros to imposing a president's rule in a conflict-torn state like Manipur, given that the state leadership is almost absent in terms of governance regarding this conflict resolution, or even humanitarian aid, providing of humanitarian aid also? Because we don't see much change or much effort from the state government nor from the central government. But do you think that imposition of a PR could be in a better, could come into a better way? What are your thoughts on that?
I cannot speculate. It may be a hypothesis also, because in as much as what I could see is like there is a game which is being played by the government. So in which side they are supposed to navigate. We are just as a citizen only, I am giving my opinion. It is all depend upon the collective opinion which has to be come forward from every sections of the society, because it affects to all the society. It's not about Kuki and Meitei. It affects to all the communities. So this also needs to be discussed at length. Otherwise, this may, as brother has suggested about the native states, how they have been just about all those things, how only the Meitei area parts and in the northern sides, this remains with some insurgency issues and terrorism, whatever it may be. So in order to eliminate all those things, which they don't like, so they just keep pressuring the public, and in which we happen to fall into their trap, then only the consequence and repercussions will be damage, and the future of all of us will be at stake. That's for sure. So we need to address these situations by forming certain types of organizations as well.
Very, very good point, Oja Victor. I'll come back to you again in the next round if time permits. Now, moving on to Oja Paojel Chaoba. We have heard our panelists, Oja Pradip and Oja Victor, also mention regarding the need for a peace and also the hidden agenda of the central government. I'd like to know from you that when it comes to, since Manipur is in a very strategic position geographically, because we are the border state of the Indian country bordering Myanmar, and also Myanmar is at a boil currently with conflict, with civil war. And also we also see that Manipur is now almost there. We can see some effects of the spillover from the Myanmar side as well. Regarding this, I'd like to bring up some incidents from history as well, because regarding Sri Lanka, there was this LTTE issue during the 1980s, and the government of India had to provide the Indian peacekeeping force in there, but it failed terribly. And then the LTTE it was forced to abandon the LTTE and had to send in this IPKF in 1987. There was an issue, and it was badly retaliated back to the government of India. And it looks like regarding this Myanmar, the Kuki community and the Meitei community conflict, there is also some agenda regarding the Myanmar conflict, where the Indian government is using the Kuki community to be a shield in the Myanmar territory in this fight, because there are some vested interests, it seems. So my question is that in such a scenario, do you think that the government of India is using the Kuki militants as patsies, as shields, and that they will also ultimately abandon them, and that it may also backfire upon them, to the Indian government itself? Because I would also like to put out one issue regarding Kashmir. It was a state, there was a long bouts of PR as well in Kashmir, and ultimately in 2019, I believe, it was again divided into 2 union territories. So we, by seeing these patterns of the Indian government, do you think some of those sorts happening again in Manipur with regards to Myanmar, regards to this conflict?
There's a lot of things that can be happening that we can assume, but there are so many things that you have pointed out, including the Myanmar conflict, which is like 1,000 times more than us. People, the way they're getting killed, and the violation of human rights, etc., etc. But I feel that that is a situation that Myanmar government has to resolve in a way, or either the PDF gets a chance to do that, the shadow government of Aung San Suu Kyi, as they say. But if you look at one thing, that the PDF are like against the junta, military junta. So they have their own battle to fight. And of course, we are a border state, and we have been crossing over and getting business, doing all trades, and different communities have their own interests along these tracks from along the eastern sides also. And of course, in a population of more than like 55 lakhs and all, plus they have like more than 55,000 people have died. In Manipur, only 200 of that. But as per the population, that is one thing. But the violence spilling over is a natural phenomenon, because we have very close, what we will say, including the Nagas also, in the Somra tracks. They have their own communities on the other side, and even Myanmar has so many of their ethnic communities, more than 38. So it's a big problem, big mess in itself. But however, the Indian state, they are pushing troops now to guard the border. The building of the so-called this wall, they're supposed to separate the border of at least 400 kilometers, still remains a dream, pipe dream. But how they're going to guard the border, that's one thing. That is an external issue. But only for the border skirmishes that happen from time to time. But what we should be considering is our what we are supposed to do, how we're supposed to deal with the policy of the Indian state, which we are not clear about. As Town Pradip had rightly pointed out, that there are so many troops on the ground, 70,000 plus, and counting. So they can finish this, all the issues with their military infrastructure, etc., etc. They have everything. The Home Department, the Army, the Defense. I mean, the allocation is huge. And the Manipur border is not such a long and uncharted territory, because everything has been mapped out from a very long time back. So there might be possibilities of getting profit because from this particular crisis. But we have to know who's getting a profit from here.
Okay.
Are the Maitis having a big, wonderful time from all this conflict? Are we getting something, some profit from in whatever way it may be, and also for the other community? So, who wins from this war, and why are they prolonging it? So there must be some agenda, hidden agenda, that is making them to keep the pot stirring, and pit one chicken against another, as you see in those Thailand cockfights.
Yes.
and perhaps with that to contain some things, some issues which has been known afflicting the northeastern states, including the issue of insurgency, perhaps. But how far they are winning, gaining ground on that particular issue, I am doubtful, because one article which I read is that everything has been like more of a very heydays for the insurgency and its concerned groups in forms of recruitment, etc., etc. I read in an article somewhere. So, what exactly is the plan that seems to be with the Indian state? And if that is some sort of a final trifurcation of sorts, of putting one community on one side where they'll be entirely responsible for everything, like what the cookies are demanding now in terms of a separate administration, a territorial council, you name it. But we have to be realistic and say that, of course, the separation has been done. The line has been drawn. They're on the one side, we're on the other side. We can't cross over each other. And then now comes the other communities which are neutral. But if something happens, as you pointed out, of like in a Senapati incident where one truck was being burnt, and there was a lockdown, and they were saying that we will not give any other sort of goods to the other community.
Right.
So this sort of small spark which can ignite something bigger needs to be very well handled, because we don't know what, as Town Pradip said, that there are so many agencies working in our state, right? Deep state. Right. It may be the NIA, it may be the special cell, it may be CBI, it may be RAW, you name it. And in due course, I think they are also taking certain steps which we do not know about, as there are about like 60 plus CBI teams in the state who are collecting and documenting and investigating things. And as you've seen, the last time there was a viral photo in social media of the NIA booking some people, some youths also in the name, who are associated with one organization. So we don't know what at the end what's going to happen, but it is for sure that the government has got some plans. I don't think it's in the interest of any communities of either of Manipur as itself, because right now, when they can stop a fire in 1 month or less, or 2 days, or even 12 hours, why is the issue being prolonged? Why is that the Chief Minister has been in a way silent, in a way has not been able to approach the center, and it's just a matter of holding on to his chair till the very bitter end. So let's see what happens at the end, because we feel that as the people mandate with the Lok Sabha elections, people want change, and there's nothing permanent in life except change, but change for the better or change for the worse. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that change will happen for the better.
Very beautiful message. Now we have almost come to the last segment of this episode, and now I'd like to just put forward one question which is open to the floor, and all of our panelists can discuss on this. This is regarding the presence of so many security forces in Manipur. I think we have been discussing it in all platforms everywhere. And the thing is that there are now almost 50 new companies added, and it was mentioned recently that the Home Ministry will be fully in charge regarding their the charges that will be needed for them to be situated in prefabricated housing and all of that. So which means that these security forces will be here in Manipur for a very long time, including the Indian Army. And when it comes to the Indian Army, we know that the Indian Army says they will not operate without the AFSPA, and AFSPA and Manipur have a very bitter history. Regarding that, do you think that the AFSPA will again be reimposed in places where it has been withdrawn? So this is for the floor, and please discuss on this matter. Any one of our panelists can speak on this, and this is our last segment for today. So Pradip, please start with you, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, it's quite likely, but then it also can be avoided, because right now the forces which are coming in are not the actual army, and I don't know if the army is going to be deployed. If they are deployed, then probably AFSPA will be here, and that's how I would put it. But they can also do without the army. The army can remain where the AFSPA is, and the rest can be where AFSPA is not. But something probably will have to happen for this violence to end. for the normalcy to return.
Okay, so Victor, what are your thoughts on that? And also, please do supplement, because I would also like to know, especially from you, regarding the new 3 criminal laws which will be completely overtaking the IPC and the CRPC, and also the question regarding the about 4,000 to 5,000 guns which has been snatched from the police department, which is out in the public in the hands of the civilians. So, regarding AFSPA and also this new set of 3 laws, which is known as, in short, as BCA. So how will this come into play with this conflict, with these issues, with all of these things out in the open, starting July 1st? What are your thoughts?
AFSPA may be a flight implemented very soon. That's also likelihood of those things are there. And vis-a-vis the new laws, 3 laws, in which like BNS, that's one of the draconian law, if I interpret. So in that very context, terrorists has been included, apart from the UAPA preventive, that one. So even in the general law also, terrorists has been defined, well defined, and in which we can be prosecuted and persecuted as well. And so that's going to be implemented from this coming 1st July of 2024. So which is also likely to give a negative impact within our society. So we have to be very wise enough to deal with the issue. Yes. Not only the AFSPA imposition, but under the very gulf of the so-called BNS, there is a new law, the replace of the so-called erstwhile IPC. So we'll be booked, and that's more draconian and that's more serious. And so we have to, under what circumstances we have to deal, and we can be booked under the transnational conspiracy in as much as my research is concerned. So most of the crimes being taken place here in Manipur may likely to come under the purview of the so-called transnational conspiracy. Okay. So irrespective of any communities, that's what I speculate as of now.
Very good point. Just about your closing remarks, and what are your thoughts on that? Regarding this AFSPA, these new laws, and also these recent things, that I'll give you the chance to completely close this discussion on your remarks.
We as our community along with other communities are no stranger to danger. We have suffered a lot, and the history is there, which tells that from the Nagas to all the other communities to the Meiteis, we have suffered the brunt of atrocities from long time back. We have seen fake encounters, we have seen operations, we have seen combing operations, we have seen so many atrocities that was happening before, when we did not have mobile phones or any sort of medium which we could put across to the rest of India. I mean, there was no proper medium to carry across our plights, our issues. But right now it's getting written in books. But in this present day, there's a smart generation also. And we have to rely on them to bring about change. It's like we are basically too old to make that much of a change. But we have to carry on that torch which were given to us by those people who believe in Manipur, by those people who believe in peace, in law and order, who believe in fraternity also. But we have danced that dance with AFSPA since a long time back. And as for the new laws, come on, as I said before, even if they can lock one person up for 90 days, I believe.
Right.
3 months approximately. But even if they do so, I think when we had an issue with COVID, that COVID is going to wipe all of us out, it actually didn't. It actually made us more resilient in a way.
Yes.
And made us stronger, physically or whatever in some ways. And we have to learn to take care of ourselves. And that day we have been taking care of ourselves. And the main thing is that we need reforms in our legislature. And we need power. We need power in what sort of powers is that? Law-making powers. Because as you can see, the so-called legislatures, what are they doing? What things they have said? What are they doing? Except for like saying some pretty petty things that some people might buy. They say "Machum Chawa Kangus" in Maitelon, and you should leave them aside. We need a change in our politics. We need a vibrant economic structure, a political structure, and we have to grab power. They say that Mao said that power comes from the barrel of a gun, but we have our gun, that's our thumb, which we can use to elect our representatives. And we have seen that with our elected representatives, how wrong we have been, how bad we have chosen our representatives. So in the next election, okay, for this one, the MP, I think it will be a change that will bring in the windows of change. I mean, say the winds of change will blow, and ultimately we have to look for 2027, and we have to chart out a work plan for a stronger regional party to contest this election, so that we can we have no longer to be submissive to the center, like what we can see right now. We cannot,
very good
I mean, like behave like this in future. So this is a mistake made, but we cannot afford to risk it again. So in the next elections, we have to choose our leaders, our representatives, by reflecting on the past and what has happened, how much problems we are in, what is the state Manipur is in right now. So this is the dismantling of a society, of a state, which we are witnessing right now. And we don't know what tomorrow will bring, but we have to stand together and fight against everything that is against our fundamental rights, which are given by the Constitution of India.
Indeed, the change, we need a very good and well thought out change indeed in both the political and the economic sector. Well, that ends today's discussion, and I'd like to thank our panelists, Oja Pradip, Oja Victor, and Oja Paojel Chaoba, for being us with here and discussing and debating on this issue, which is crucial, and also we hope that our viewers will take many crucial points from this discussion, and I'll thank you once again. I would also like to thank our viewers for tuning in tonight. We will be back again next Monday with more exciting topics. Until then, have a good week.